Good evening, and welcome back to the Pastor Study. Tonight, I'd like to take just a few moments and deal with an issue that every person has to deal with, whether they're a believer or not. And those who tell you that they don't probably are not telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The reality is that sometimes life is not what we want it to be. We have plans, and they don't work out. Somebody else interrupts our plans, or even the enemy of our souls gets involved sometimes. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy because there are consequences to our choices that we sometimes don't stop to consider until it's too late. And now we have to play out the hand that we've dealt ourselves, if you will. But in the midst of that, we are not alone. And that's what I want you to understand this evening, what I hope you will take away from this. The writer of Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, is written by the prophet Isaiah. And in chapter 40, he gives a phenomenal statement of faith in who God is. Let me read it to you. Isaiah chapter 40, and I'm beginning with verse 28. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is an everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. I love that passage. What Isaiah is telling us is that as believers in Jesus Christ, as citizens of the kingdom, that when we run out of energy, and we will, and when life has beat us about the head and shoulders, and it will, there is a supernatural source that we can go to that will energize us and carry us through even when we don't think that we can make it. You know, at the end of World War II in Europe, the Allied forces, as they made their way across the Rhine River and into previously German-held territory, Nazi Germany-held territory, uncovered some horrifying events and facts. They discovered the concentration camps, about which there had been some whispers and rumors, but nobody apparently really knew for certain, nor how bad they were. How bad were they? Well, some of the soldiers who first stumbled on them, who found these men and women and, yes, children who looked more like matchsticks with skin than anything else, were never ever able to get over what they experienced, even after they came back home to the United States and the war was over. Some of those men, some of those soldiers, men that you would think had been hardened by battle, by 4 long years of battle, in fact, so struggled with what they found in the concentration camps that it literally all but destroyed their emotional equilibrium, some of them for the rest of their lives. I can only imagine what those who lived through that event, that is, the inmates, if you will, of the concentration camps had to go through. Of course, we know many of them did not make it through. Some 6 million Jews died, and I'm told another 6 million or so of what the Nazis considered undesirables died as well. Undesirables being those who were homosexuals, gypsies, and other races, if you will. And yet, when they broke into the concentration camp in Cologne, they found something else. Some unknown Jew scratched the following in the wall of a dark, dank, dingy, maybe very scary basement. Let me read to you what this man, who had to be at the very end of his tether, wrote. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. And I believe in love even when there is no one there. And I believe in God even when he's silent. I believe through any trial there's always a way, but sometimes in that suffering and hopeless despair my heart cries for shelter, to know someone's there. But a voice rises within me, saying, hold on, my child. I'll give you strength. I'll give you hope. Just stay a little while. I believe in the sun even when it's not shining, and I believe in love even when there's no one there. But I believe in God even when he's silent, and I believe through any trial, there's always a way. The faith exhibited by that man, in my mind, is almost unfathomable. In the midst of the most horrible example of man's inhumanity to man, he still manages, perhaps with his dying breath and activity, to scrabble a testimony to his faith. Some 1900 plus years prior to that, or almost 1900 years prior to that, the writer of Hebrews, in writing his letter to the church, says this in Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1. Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Faith is trusting God even in the midst of crisis, even if it's a self-generated crisis, and many of them are. Faith is trusting God even when we don't know what's coming next. Faith is trusting God even when we don't see a next. Because even though we don't see him, he's still there. The writer of the piece of poetry, Footprints, and I can't quote it right now, but basically the man goes to heaven and he complains to God that during the most difficult times of his life, as God shows him kind of a video, if you will, of what his life was like. He said, during the most difficult times of my life, why is it when before we were walking down the beach of life, I saw two sets of prints, but I see during the most difficult times there was only one set. And the response from Jesus to this believer was this: my child, my precious child, it was during those times that I carried you. We need to understand that sometimes life will deal us a difficult hand. It doesn't mean God has turned loose of our other hand. He's still there. We need to still hold on and trust that he is who he says he is, that he is who Isaiah said he is, the God who gives us strength even when we have none. And with that thought, I'll leave you and look forward to seeing you back next week, back in the Pastor Study.